The top story we're tracking comes all the way from Tesla chief Elon Musk, who arrived in China as of Sunday, barely a week after he cited Tesla-related obligations to defer his much-anticipated India visit, where he was to meet Prime Minister Modi and founders of Indian space startup. Musk met Chinese Premier Li Qiang in Beijing as on Sunday, Tesla chief said, and is said to have in fact discussed the rollout of Tesla's full self-driving software and take permission to transfer data overseas with Chinese government officials. The surprise visit to China comes amid a sharp decline in production of Tesla units and questions raised by its investors. Tesla operates, remember, its biggest plant globally in Shanghai, producing over 1 million units of Model 3 and Model Y cars in a year. Now, Musk was expected to be in India earlier this month as the government rolled out an electric vehicle policy last month, largely to accommodate the Texas-based car maker. Surprisingly, he cancelled the visit last minute and instead landed in China. Kartik Malhotra here with me in the studio. Kartik, hi, good morning. What does this really mean for Tesla? Is it coming to India, not coming to India? That remains a question mark, but he did ditch India for China.
No doubt about that. I think, the heavy Tesla obligations, the very heavy Tesla obligations that Elon Musk cited were in the making for a much longer time than those 2 days that he was supposed to be in India for. And his surprise visit to China also at some level talks about this tech diplomacy at place. Now, what is really happening with Tesla, and there are some serious concerns in Tesla as well, with the kind of competition in electric mobility across the world and with the growth not picking up, in a manner in which it was predicted to, Elon Musk has a mountain of challenges. Number one, it has to fight the price war with Chinese players including BYD and many other Chinese players including Xiaomi, the maker of smartphones and smart TVs, now getting into electric mobility. So that is one side of the problem, where there is intense competition, due to which Tesla has been forced to cut its its price tag on the Tesla models which it sells in the US as well as China and other markets globally. At the same time, Elon Musk has also had to cull out about 10% of his staff. Now, this amounts to about 14,000 people. So the P&L and the balance sheet of Tesla is obviously stressed right now. And despite, and what we saw in the Q1 earnings last week, just a few days after he cancelled his India trip, we saw that while Tesla's revenue had grown about 12%, its profit on a YOY basis for the same Q1 of this year versus last year had slipped by about 45%. So these are obviously some big numbers which Elon Musk and the board of Tesla have to be cognizant of. Now, coming to what really happened in China, the story in China is actually a little more political than pure business. So in the case of China, I think there is obviously stiff restrictions which the Chinese government has implemented on Tesla cars. For example, Tesla cars are not allowed to enter government-owned facilities. Tesla cars are not allowed to enter military bases. And Tesla cars are now also being barred from entering exhibition halls and conference centers, simply because it seems that the Chinese government is either distrustful of Elon Musk or of an American company operating a technology-led vehicle in its facilities. And of course, it has features like sensors and cameras, which the Chinese government may be suspecting of, some sort of an espionage work being carried out by Tesla cars and remitting that data, transmitting that data back to the US. This is what the Chinese government formally seems to be, aware of and cautious of. At the same time, there is no ruling out the possibility that maybe the Chinese government is actually imposing these restrictions on Tesla just to propel its own electric vehicles like BYD and Xiaomi and many others which are now mushrooming in China in a bid to cut off the American company altogether and focus on its own domestic EV production.
Now, China is an important market for Tesla, but it does look like that there is a slowdown in China vis-a-vis what government restrictions have been imposed on Tesla for China to promote its own electric vehicles. At a point like this, how crucial is this visit for Elon Musk to actually go and prefer China for its self-driven software, for data to be shared, because there's a mandated data localization, for that data to be shared with Tesla in the US.
Absolutely. So I think the visit and the timing of the visit is absolutely crucial on two accounts. Number one, what we spoke about tech diplomacy, which you're also referring to, is by way of this autonomous car being made available through regulatory approvals for China, and this final negotiation on where is this data resting, is this data getting transmitted back to the US or not. So that is the tech diplomacy part of it. The other, the pure business aspect of Elon Musk's visit also comes at a time when globally there is a slowdown in electric cars and the number of sales which are anticipated not really being met. But the numbers instead, tell a very, very different story.
Right.
So since the first gigafactory, and it was a $7 billion gigafactory which Tesla set up in China in the year 2020. In the last 4 years, it has sold upwards of 1.7 million cars in China. Just to put that in context, last year, India sold a little under 1 lakh cars. Just Tesla cars sold in China over the last 4 years are 17 lakh. Now, to give a more YOY sort of comparison between India and China, India sold less than 1 lakh, like I mentioned, about 92,000 electric cars in the year 2023. Tesla alone in China sold over 6 lakh cars, 6 lakh 3,000 cars was sold by Tesla alone. And this is a 37% jump over the previous year, 2022, which was about 4 lakh 40,000 vehicles.
So China is an important market.
China is absolutely important.
But India is also a growing market.
So I think the message is fairly clear. Right now, Elon Musk seems to be a little risk averse, does not want to perhaps trust the Indian EV policy very much, does not. Maybe he wants to wait for the election season to end.
Which a lot of people say was changed for Tesla.
I mean, industry refers to it as the Tesla policy. So I think Elon Musk definitely wants to wait for the election season to end, be very sure that this EV policy is the best that he can get out of India, and at the same time ensure that existing markets, including China, including US, are the ones that actually fire on all cylinders to keep the Tesla EV dream alive and kicking.
And wouldn't be wrong to say at this point that China seems to supersede Tesla for its own interest as opposed to India.
So that is exactly what Elon Musk wants to fight, and that's exactly what Elon Musk wants to negotiate with China. It wants to show that it is a well-wisher. It wants to show that it is pretty much in line with what the Chinese vision for electric mobility is, and wants to position Tesla as a real formidable player in that market, not really, waiting for any sort of scheme to unfold which could, in a sense, restrict its operations in China.
All right, so Elon Musk there was on a surprise visit to China over the weekend. He, of course, ditched India earlier this month on 21st and 22nd of April, which is when he was expected to be here in India. Whether he's going to come later and to what extent has his trip been deferred or postponed, we don't know. But Elon said he will be in India and hopefully by the end of this year.